Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to the Monday show of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I hope that you guys had a fantastic weekend. Let's begin a new week with a great song. Rounding out towards the end of Sonic Origami, we're coming in today with a song called Feels Like. Now, that's kind of an intriguing title. It feels like it's missing something, like what it feels like. If someone were to come up to you and go, feels like, you'd probably blink your eyes a couple times, maybe raise your eyebrows, waiting for an answer, start looking around the room a little bit, and eventually go, feels like what? But we may find out as we get into the song. But before we do that, it is Monday, guys. We got stuff to talk about. We got to talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Ohio, where Uriah Heep needs to be inducted in 2022. Let's make it happen, guys. Go to facebook.com/HeepRockHall or go to scotthaskin.com and then click on the Uriah Heep podcast link. And then there is a link for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They deserve it, guys. Let's make it happen. Just takes a few seconds to put your name on that ballot. You don't have to do anything more if you don't want to. If you want to share, donate, that would be fantastic. Very helpful. And I'm really excited to see them on that stage accepting that award. You know, that'd be pretty amazing. So let's do that. We also have some people to thank that are part of the Patreon account. You guys help keep the show running, and it really inspires me too. And those people would be, starting at the $5 Easy Living tier, we have Kenny Wymore and Brad D. At the $3 The Wizard tier, we're talking about Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, Frank Thielgaard Mortensen, and of course, William Rose. And last but not least, at the Traveler in Time tier, without any seepage at all, we have Airtight Gravesite. Thank you guys. It means so much to me that you take your hard-earned dollars and throw them my way so I can help pay for the costs of the show. Also, my friends at Podbean who do the distribution for the show, my friends at Audionamics who created Instant Dialogue Cleaner, which helps keep the voice on this podcast sounding as clear as possible without all the human flaws. And of course, we have Scott Lazinski, my graphic artist who did the logos for the show. Fantastic work. If you guys are looking for a nice professional logo for your company, for your page, whatever, let me know. I'll get you in touch with him. He is absolutely amazing. We have a growing network of podcasts in the Deep Dive Network, and they're all just wonderful shows, wonderful people to talk to and to work with. I'm honored to be a part of this group. They're just amazing. And any of these bands that you're interested in or even slightly curious about, or if you just have some free time and you want some sound going into your ears, check out these shows. We've got the Deep Purple podcast. We've got Skinnered Reconsidered. We've got T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the other side. We've got Sabbath Bloody podcast. We've got In the Lap of the Pods. We've got Hawk Binge. We've got Maiden A to Z pod. We've got Diary of the Madmen, the ultimate Ozzy podcast. We have, Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. And of course, the Metal Gods podcast. And all great people. Seriously, we all kind of talk on this one chat from time to time. And anytime anybody has a question or some ideas, everybody else just jumps right in there to help and offer suggestions or thoughts, the random joke now and then. But it's a great group of people I truly am honored to be a part of. We also have some other great sites that I definitely support on the show. Brandon over at Metallicast. Brandon actually had me do an episode for him as the host while he was taking care of his newly born child and his family. He's a great guy, got a great show. Ace on Music, which is on Stitcher and YouTube. The band's manager has his own show where he talks about all kinds of things in the music business. I would have had no idea what a non-fungible token was had I not been listening to Ace's show. And last but not least, we have Allegra over at gottahear'emall.com. It's a website dedicated to well-researched information on Deep Purple, Emerson, Lake and Powell, their touring live, some other tidbits about their bands in the music business. Fantastic place to just dive in and read these articles. Very, very well done. So those are the people that, are very helpful to the show, very important to me. And of course, the band Uriah Heep. Thank you guys. I don't think I thank Uriah Heep often enough for allowing me to do the show and for the support that they give me to do it. It's really fantastic. And of course, Dave White, the social media director for Uriah Heep, who does all the web pages for not just Uriah Heep, but also the Mick Box website as well. It's mick-box.com, uriah-heep.com. Check those out. And he also does the sharing of the show and other posts on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, Dave. You are awesome. Got to have you back on the show before too much time passes. It's always a joy when you're here reviewing songs, giving insight that I would never have. Very, very cool. So let's get into today's song, guys. It is called Feels Like, and it is done by Uriah Heep. Certainly one of the most intriguing intros we've had on a Uriah Heep song so far, and I think it sounds really cool. It's interesting how far in the background the guitars and the keyboards are. Drums are very much up front. I love those kind of, tribal tom playing sounds. They really are mood creating, I think. It's intriguing, it's mysterious. You kind of don't really know where it's going, and the bass is just coming in, adding some really nice touches to that. The closest thing we really have to a melody at this point. Love the keys, love the guitar effects. I'm hearing at least two different guitar tracks, one in the left, one in the right, and they're doing slightly different things. They have some really cool effects on them, but I don't think it was one track that was duplicated into the other ear, because I'm hearing some differences in the two tracks. But very nice, really good guitar effects. I think that there was a couple other songs on this album too, wasn't there, where I noted that the guitars seemed a little bit quiet, a little bit further in the background. That kind of matches this a little bit, although this being a little bit more extreme, but they seem to be coming a little bit more forward, as did the keys towards the part where I cut it. So let's see where it goes from here. Wow, that's a nice gritty solo right there. The only thing that's kind of throwing me off a little bit is that the guitar sound is good, but it just seems a little bit dry to me. It seems like there's not a lot of reverb on it, which, I mean, that's fine, but it feels like it stands out from the rest of the songs because you've got reverb on the drums, a little bit on the bass and that. It seems to feel like the instrument is in a different room almost to me. But I love the playing. I think it sounds good. Really fits the song. I love those just, really gritty solos where you feel like Mick's just going to rip the strings right off the guitar. Love that kind of stuff.
I can feel your sadness from what I said to you. I'm drinking my forgiveness, so restless and confused. I don't know what I see, but it looks a lot like love, showing me something deeper than deep in my soul.
I could probably do a whole episode on how great Uriah Heep is just at these amazing transitions that they do. Very smooth, very nicely done. But going into the verse there, I really love what I'm hearing. I can hear a little bit of organ in the mix there, really solid rhythm guitar. I like the bass there. It's kind of playful, yet, serious, and it stands along with the drums and the rhythm, but it kind of meanders a little bit, giving the song a little bit more color than just that straight dent, 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 dent. But also when the vocals come in at points, the keyboard, there's another synth that's playing along with those, which sounds really good. I like that little enhancement there, and then the transition and then coming back in to the next line again, very smooth.
Feels like I'm at the point, it makes me feel like I'm at the point of no return. Feels like I was drifting through the days with
It's weird. Even though that was a chorus, it doesn't quite feel like a chorus to me. It almost feels like just feels like a change or an extension of the verse. A little bit of we're going to sing these couple lines differently, but it doesn't feel as much like a chorus because the music really doesn't change that much. It's just kind of continuing along that path really effortlessly, very smoothly. But, normally with the chorus, there would be a difference in pattern, a different kind of drum roll that would maybe introduce it, some kind of buildup or a little bit of flash as it changes, but more of a dramatic change too in the actual chorus. So it's subtle, but it doesn't quite have the feeling of a chorus, yet I don't feel like the verse is overplayed. It's really, really interesting.
nowhere else to turn. I finally discovered how much I had to learn. I shouldn't be afraid for you to bring me love, taking me somewhere deeper than deep in my soul. And it makes me feel like I'm at the point of no return. Feels like I'm at the point, it makes me feel like I'm at the point of no return. Feels like I'm at the point.
Now, right there, you can tell how well this is actually mixed because while it seems at first that the backups might be a little bit too loud, the backing vocals I'm talking about might be a little bit too loud, when Bernie comes in, you can hear very clearly what he's doing over the top of them. So it really isn't a volume issue at all. As when they first came in on the first chorus, I thought, yeah, it's going to be a little loud. And then when Bernie was singing over it, it really wasn't. It was very pleasant, the balance between the two types of voicings that we're hearing. And they did the same thing here. Very good mix.
This time my heart will lead the way. To win the game, you gotta play.
One thing I've noticed on this album on a couple of songs is that Phil has used whether it's the Hammond or a Nord without the overdrive on it. And I think the organ alone has a great sound. When you're doing hard rock, you want that grit in there. You want it to kind of push the envelope. And that's when you add the overdrive, which is like a heavier distortion. And it sounds great, especially if you're using Leslie's or, maybe even a simulated Leslie, although it's hard to really get that full-bodied Leslie sound when you're simulating it. But I love the sound of the organ, and I love that he's choosing places to fit it in without always having to have the overdrive on it. I think it sounds really good here, just as blending, as adding just a little bit of tone, kind of a layer of icing over the cake of the song. And there's my baking references. It's been a while since I've had one of those, but I think it's a really nice blend. And I think that was a great choice for this song.
To win the game, you gotta play. Yeah. You love me like a lover. I see it in your face. No need to think it over. No need to run the race.
I really like this part. I think it's a good change. I think that what I like most about it is the addition of these pulses from the organ or the synth. They add just a nice touch of emphasis with, again, not being over the top, not be intruding on any of the other sounds that we're hearing, but we definitely feel that pulse. It's more of a rhythm organ style than just playing keyboards.
Don't know if you planned it, but you're driving me insane.
Another trend I've noticed with the band in the last few albums is, Mick doing some soloing over the chorus vocals in the last minute or minute and a half of the song. And, it's great. It adds a lot of flavor to that part. But at the same point, like, I love the way that Mick plays so much. I really want to be able to hear what he's doing. So it's a little bit of a challenge to hear between the vocals what he's doing. I kind of want to focus on both, but I can't do that. I really have to pick one to focus on. I will say he is really making that guitar squeal on some of these parts here in ways that I've not really heard him do before. It's quite fascinating. I really like that they went back to the opening to do the ending. I think that was cool. It was a nice segue into it. But also I like that they put the volumes back where they were at the beginning, putting the guitar and the keyboards more towards the back, kind of making them fade out. The bass is playing some really interesting notes here. Certainly not ones that I would expect, at least not all of them, but it's kind of like everybody's just winding down, like the toy is running out of juice, except for the Energizer battery drummer here, who just keeps going regardless of the fact that his bandmates are fading away. I will say, though, that at this tempo, it is a particularly patient method of playing here for Lee, because the tendency for a drummer would be to speed these up, hit these toms really hard, but he's playing in a way that you still get the snap out of the tom, but he's not beating the hell out of it. He's just playing very, very nicely, very smooth and evenly, and really patiently. Doesn't really feel like he's speeding up at all here. It's he's locked into that beat, and I really like the sound of that. But he doesn't seem to notice that his bandmates have gone. I don't think there's been a single time since we started this show that there have been drums that were that isolated before. It gives you a real chance to hear the depth of the toms, to hear a little bit of that reverb, to hear that gate just come in and shut down the reverb. It's not very long. It's not enough to deaden the sound of the toms. I mean, they definitely don't sound flat or cut off, but there's not a long reverb trail afterwards. It's really cut down by that noise gate. Sounds great, though. You don't notice it when everyone else is playing, of course, because it's not even something that you would hear. It's blended into the overall sound. You wouldn't be able to pick out the reverb on the drums unless it was really something huge that you could. But in this case, it's subtle enough to where you really can't when the rest of the instruments are playing. So it's nice to hear that, and especially on an album where the drums are so wonderfully mixed and recorded. I think they're very clear on this album. No matter how punchy a kick is, I seem to always want just a little more out of it. But I think the drums on this album, this is one of the best drum mixes that we've gotten since the band started, as far as I'm concerned. And being both a drummer and an audio engineer, I'm going to be a little bit picky about that. But I think they sound really good, especially, as they're isolated and we can really hear the clarity of what's going on. But this is a good song. It's got some good moods to it. It's got some interesting verse and chorus feelings to it. But I like the title. I like the lyrical melody to the song. I like a couple of those, transitions where you think it's going to change into something much different, but it doesn't. Really cool song, and a great way to start our week off. It seems like, I could probably say just about any song I reviewed would be a great way to start our week off, but one that kind of gives us something a little bit different, maybe opens up the feeling of possibility throughout our week. And since this is a very different style of song for Uriah Heep, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say anything is possible this week, guys. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!